Okay, so I feel like it's almost time that we're going to be playing live again soon. Now, I haven't played live for 15 years. If you haven't been on the channel before, you know, I took a 14, 15 year gap. I've been playing again for just over a year. And I'm really excited to one day play live again. When I was 17, 18, 19, I used to play gigs with a couple of different bands. I don't think I'll be playing it live this year. You know, I still need more time to feel confident and comfortable and to find people to play with. But it's going to be really fun over the next 6 months to a year to sort of think about and envisage what a live gig might feel like for me, and what I'll actually be playing and how I'll play it and what gear I'll use. So this series of videos, which is going to go stringing along for a long time, I think, sporadically perhaps, is going to be me thinking of real world situations and trying to come up with the rig that would fit that situation. So in today's one, I've gone for a 3-pedal blues setup with the thought in mind of a sort of reasonably basic blues gig in a small medium place. So it could be a hall with maybe 300 people in it, so not tiny, but this is the sort of size of gigs I was playing when I was younger. And in each video I'll use different amps based on the scenario, different pedals and guitars. So in today's one, as I said, small to medium. If you want to hear the sort of sound that I'd love to create over time, and I don't think I've necessarily nailed it in this one, find an album called Blue Matter by a band called Savoy Brown. Listen to the last 3 tracks. It's on Spotify. My dad and I used to listen to it on vinyl when I was younger. We didn't have the cover for it, and the vinyl, the sticker had sort of peeled away, but we knew it was Savoy Brown. It took me a long time, and then once Spotify came along, I managed to find it on here. Those are some of my favourite ever blues tones, and I sort of think about those when I'm putting together a rig. It's not exactly what I've gone for today. So in today's rig, the amp is the 2-Rock Bloomfield Drive. This sort of feels like my home base amp in many ways, and it's fantastic for pedals. Absolutely fantastic. Probably of all my amps, it's the one which you can get, you know, it's my most high wattage amp, even though I've got it in the 50 watt mode today to help it break up a bit more. In the 100 watt mode, it can be so neutral, but just with it's got class. These 2-Rock amps are really fantastic. So I feel like for that size of gig, this has good enough master volume to go as low as I need, or to crank it up a little bit more if it were allowed. And I'll be playing 2 different guitars today. So let's start by hearing the amp tone on the first guitar, and then I'm going to add in the always on pedal. I'll let you know what that is in a second. Okay, so as you can hear, pretty basic amp tone today. I'm not trying to sort of hit the front end of the amp too hard. I want the pedals to shine through in themselves so that I can create various different tones using them. But something I think would be really cool in a sort of smallish environment where the room is not too massive is to have a slapback delay always. Now I've noticed that some players do this. I remember watching a Kirk Fletcher sort of rig rundown, and he used the Castlin bred Topanga, which I really wanted after I saw that, but it was out of stock. And then I heard this pedal, which you'll see in a second, and what I love about it is it has a nice simple layout. There are more complicated things you can do with it, but I generally use this one part, the short delay part of the pedal, and it has great tone control, because I find a lot of delays can just be too glassy. They change your tone too much. This one, using that tone control, I can rein it back down. It doesn't get shimmery or anything like that, which I wouldn't want for blues. Maybe for more ambient playing, it would be great. And then there's a lot of control over the short delay, and I've picked, I've put it in a place where we just get that slap back. So let's have a little look at that. Okay, and I think that Broadcaster would be my main guitar for this sort of thing. It's a guitar I'm not scared to take out. It's not semi-hollow, which for some reason I've just got this notion of dropping an amplifier on a semi-hollow guitar. I don't know why. I think it would take me a few gigs going out there with a solid body guitar before I would take any of my precious, super precious semi-hollow bodies that I love. So that works really well for me. But the second guitar for that night in my head would be this P90 guitar. It's got really good upper mids and high end, which I think, the first time I'd be playing a gig and sitting in the mix, I'd want to be heard. So this P90 guitar is great. Let's just hear the delay on that. Okay, so now that delay is going to stay on for the rest of this video. It is going to be my always on. It just gives me a little bit more meat on the bone. It gives a certain sort of acoustic feeling and ambience that I just want, especially having heard some other great players playing with a slapback echo. I think it's fantastic. But the next pedal is possibly my favorite all-time pedal. I have a few that I love. Certainly when it comes to fuzz, this gives me the restraint that I need. Some fuzz pedals are just incredible for that proper fuzz, but this pedal is fantastic for giving a little taste of fuzz. It can go quite fuzzy, but it's just such a classy fuzz pedal, and it gives me what I feel like I want to call grip in the notes. Let's say I slide up a little chord, I can really feel this grip that it has, and the sound just breaks up in a really, really cool way. So let's hear that on both guitars. I've actually got two different settings. In the first one, you can change the transistors between the first stage and the second. In the first one, it's silicon in the first, germanium in the second. And then I try that on the P90, but you'll see I'll then change it very quickly to be both silicon. I didn't want with that P90 guitar, which is actually quite hot, although it's vintage voiced, it's quite powerful. I didn't want too much flubbiness with the germanium, so the silicon just holds together a bit better, but I increased the fuzz a little bit and turned down there's a clean knob on there. In the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be doing one of my 10 minutes with videos with this pedal, because I think it's a really popular pedal. It's quite complicated to get the sound exactly you want. I'm not even sure I nailed it today. Sometimes I keep it in the same setting for weeks and months, and it's exactly what I want. And today I felt like playing around with it and didn't quite get back to where it's perfect for me. But let's hear it. Okay, I love that pedal. As I said, it's so responsive to the volume knob on the guitar. You know, if I could only have one fuzz pedal, this would be it. There are some close contenders. You'll see those in future videos like this where I'm putting together the rig, and we'll try different fuzz pedals out. Okay, next is, well, it was a hard choice because I have some favourite overdrives. This is one of them. And again, this seems to be inspired a bit by Kirk Fletcher. He uses a Vemiram Jam Ray, and it gives a really great blues tone. It's not incredibly distinctive in a way. It just fits in really beautifully, and with these two guitars, I think it worked really, really well. I don't have the gain all the way down, which you know, often I'd have the gain really low on a drive pedal, but I've got it up a little bit. You know, I want to hear something from this pedal. It's got really responsive tone controls that you can get that bass down. Otherwise, it can become a bit over bassy. Especially the Bloomfield drive is actually a really bassy amp, so I've got the bass turned down on the amp. Playing with the Jam Ray just makes me feel a certain way. You know, it's an event to play that pedal, partly because it costs so much, like all the Vemiram pedals, but also partly because the way you heard how neutral the amp tone was, and this gives it such a sweet, sweet sound. You know, sometimes you hit a note with the Jam Ray and you just think only this pedal could give me that tone. So ultimately, the way this rig works is the delay would always be on. Quite often, either the fuzz or the Jam Ray would always be on. It depends on the piece. But you need to get to that last place, don't you? That full on, and that's where we're going to get with this. We're going to put all three pedals together. You know, as part of this series, when I do a 3 or 5 pedal rig, you know, I need to be able to do combinations, because you need to be able to have one more place to go to. Maybe just at the last bit of the gig, or in a couple of sort of crescendos where you've sort of, you know, done a pretty full on song, and you need to get to that sort of really full-on sound. And I think the Jam Ray and the Austin Pride work really, really well together for that. So again, let's hear that, see what you think. Okay, I love that. I just want to make it clear that, you know, it sounds like I'm just noodling around. I am obviously just noodling. It's not a piece of music that I'm playing. But if you've never been on the channel before, this is often how I do demos. I like to play around with the knobs and the selector switches on the pickups quite a lot during my noodling, because this is a demo for you. It's not about me playing a piece of music and sticking to one setting for it. I want you to hear all the different things so you can make your mind up about whether this rig or this pedal or this amp or whatever it is would suit you. So I just try and throw in the odd bit of, you know, finger playing with the plectrum, something with a chord, some lead playing, something where I hit it hard, sometimes something where I'm going soft. So if this is your first time on the channel, then, you know, that's how my demos sort of work. This is a pretty free-form demo today. I feel like this is going to be a fun series for me. And just to finish up, you know, this rig, already I feel like I would create a very small board. I wouldn't use my Gig Rig G3. I'd just create a very small board just for this and keep it as my quick going out on a Friday night to play 3 or 4 tracks at a local small pub or club, you know, if I was in a band. It would also obviously work for much better and bigger gigs for other people, but for me that's my sort of scenario. And I probably wouldn't be taking the Bloomfield Drive to something like that, but in a way for this series the amp is secondary because I want to show it on a more neutral amp. But in some videos I'll also show you on something which is a little bit more full on, like my Rift Ainsley Lister amp, which has got a really hot front end. Pedals treat it completely differently than they do these sort of neutral amps. So I think that would be really interesting. So if you want to see more like this, where I come up with a sort of fake scenario and, you know, put together a rig that I think will suit, you know, for today it was this vintage voiced early 70s British blues, probably I would say, and I really, really, really enjoyed it. It's only 9 in the morning. I've already been here for 2.5 hours. It took me an hour of noodling about, really enjoying myself, just to make sure that I was happy with this rig, and I really am. So if you enjoyed this, please give the video a thumbs up, but also subscribe to the channel and you've got a chance to win one of the best pedals I've ever played, one of the most useful pedals, which will probably make it into one of these videos in a couple of weeks' time. It's a Horse Breaker by Ceriatone. That is a Klong clone and a Blues Breaker clone, I guess we should call it, where the Ceriatone are really good at doing really faithful copies. In fact, the breaker side of this has the same sort of issue with volume that the original Blues Breaker does, which is it's very quiet unless you really whack the gain up. And we figured that out. I've spoken with Ceriatone, really, really great guys, and he told me that is the way the pedal is supposed to be. And so yeah, you've got to subscribe publicly to the channel. Ask me in the comments if you're not sure what that means. But you've also got to comment on a video anyway. I just want to get interaction on the channel. I really enjoy it. So yeah, I'll send it anywhere in the world when I hit 3,500 subs. All right, guys, thanks for watching.